This program is brought to you in association with First National Bank of Botswana. Today's parent wants to do it all: the career, the home life and the social life. More often than not, there's not enough time to do all of these things, especially when raising children, because unlike yesteryears where grandparents gladly brought up their grandchildren, they too have careers and social lives they wish to fulfill. So what then? This scenario is the one problem that Orenele Tabani had the exact solution for when she started Mummycare Babysitters. This is an establishment that offers babysitting services and or full-time stay-in nanny services for parents who may need an extra hand with their little ones. The business model is set up such that you can opt to have a full-time stay-in childminder or choose babysitting services for when you need childcare for a few hours. Orenele says they made sure to offer value for money services by employing sitters who are trained in childcare, who can help children's development by teaching them how to read and write just like they would at childcare. The managing director of Mummycare Babysitters is here to answer some of our questions around her business, which include how they verify that sitters are well equipped to care for and teach small children, how they ensure the safety of the children with their designated caregivers, and if this will ever be a school. Orenele, thank you so much for coming on First Issues and affording us your time. We're talking today about your business, Mummycare Babysitters. And you say that in essence, what you're trying to do is bridge the divide between public education and private education for toddlers and younger children. So that parents who may otherwise not be able to afford private education can do so at a fraction of the price, right? My question to you is, how do you ensure that your caretakers have the same credentials or are as professional as those who work at daycare centers?
What we've done is we want to have an ecosystem and exchange of skills through the management of Mummycare franchises. Supervisors in different areas managing Mummycare franchises would be able to supervise and monitor these individuals. We have individuals in the domestic sector, the blue-collar industry, who don't have qualifications but have time and experience. Then we have people who have went to school who have the qualification. We have two individuals who are not meeting in the center. Someone with a qualification may necessarily be gaining experience. Then we have somebody with years of experience and or not. There are people who don't have but are eager and passionate with children and all. So these people meet to exchange these skills, this care and knowledge. What these people without qualification need is training. We used to do on-the-job training. Next year we'll be starting with training beforehand. Beyond that, we'll be opening a nanny institute. Not just having training days and people are trained in training. We would like to have a bigger training institute such that all these supervisors can also be trained at the institute and all these caretakers can also be trained at this institute. We would like them to be upskilled such that they can also get better minimum wage. Maybe they can also earn better amounts of money such that they don't have to move to the other countries to do the same job they're doing in Botswana but get a better salary in a different country.
It is quite interesting that this could have easily been a daycare center, in that you say you're trying to bridge the divide between public education and private education, essentially training your staff to offer educative services to toddlers and younger children, right? So why was it not a daycare center?
Let me give an example with 2 points. Let's say we have 2 ladies who are poets. who are excellent poets. They are both poets. They recite excellently. But these two ladies, the other one, their poem can be, there are sad poems. They can only be recited at funerals and places where there is mourning, places where pity parties. And the other ones, their poems are about love. These are poems that can be played in restaurants. These are poems that can be recited in different places. These are poems that can be in love songs, stuff like that. These are two businesses that do exactly the same thing, but offer two different value chains. So this is what Mummycare Babysitters does. Mummycare is an enterprising agency. I say enterprising agency because we are enterprising the domestic sector, the blue-collar industry. We are enterprising the creative industry. We are enterprising them through the services that we offer, which is 24/7 babysitter on-call services that engage children through early childhood development. We would like our blue-collar domestic industry to be upskilled such that they don't just mind the child. They also engage them such that they can also develop. We have different occupational things related to childcare. So we are trying to assist our unskilled and skilled, because maybe they think they're limited to just being early childhood minders or educators. There are so many things in childcare such that each and every day a family needs something. Hence the reason why we are saying we are a household management company or agency. We need the support of other companies. If we are babysitting your child, we need to have a proper schedule of what that child eats, what we should be preparing, your specifications, a lot of things that are specified in people's household. Then from there, we make a schedule. Okay, on Monday, this is how the schedule is going to go. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And as early childhood educators, if we have a Monday to Friday schedule, we see, okay, for the rest of the month, this is how the schedule will be. That means we're going to have to include doctor's visits, play dates, such things, day out. And we need what? Other child care providers to assist with that. We are trying to do community development. We know that there are many households that just have their child at home from 1 to 5 years old, and parents are struggling and there's no unity. So we want unity. We are not just saying we want children to come here so that parents can get their free time. We want to build communities. We want communities to be built. We have programs that we'll be using to bridge this gap between private and public education, programs that we'll be using to build these communities through community markets.
In situations where there's a caregiver and a child, there tends to be things happening, accidents, there tends to be children getting hurt. So in your business, do you have anything in place that guards against that, or that clearly stipulates who would assume responsibility of what has happened to the child, if anything at all?
Very much so. We are a company, meaning we are caretakers of our employees that then go to people's houses and take care of their children. If these employees, maybe they were maybe we had a daycare, for example, then the clients brought the children to our daycare, then we would have to have maybe a sign outside that says that an indemnity clause outside our offices. But since we're taking the children to their household now, it's up to the client to have household insurance, these types of insurances, and we also have an indemnity on our side saying that obviously it's a third party taking care of your child. So we will do our level best to make sure that certain things don't just happen, like negligence. That say that this person, it's like you killed our child, You get it? Because at most, anything that can happen can lead to death. So I just put myself in my shoes. Or if anything happens, even an injury, it feels like death to me as a mother to my child. So those are the kind of things that we've put certain policies around our company to say that, okay, if this happens, this is the immediate solution. If this happens, this is what should happen immediately.
Childcare can be quite shaky ground to navigate, especially when children are left in the care of other people. Take, for example, what happened to one of Nigeria's music stars who allegedly lost his son in a drowning accident that happened when the child was in the care of a nanny. The question is, who bears liability in such instances? At this point in our conversation, we bring on board attorney-at-law Bonolo Selelo to provide us with the legalities surrounding such arrangements and services that Mummycare Babysitters offer. Bonolo, thank you so much for coming on First Issues and, offering us your legal insights. We are talking today about a business that deals in offering parents and whomever else has children the opportunity to call in a caregiver, right? But we want to talk to you about issues of liability. In the event that something happens to the child, who bears the responsibility of, accounting for what has happened?
When it comes to issues of a childminder or a nanny, the question that you have to ask is whether there is a duty of care, right? Owed by that childminder to the parents and to the child as well. And the simple answer is yes, there's a duty of care. And the next question will be the extent of the duty of care. And that, I believe, would differ depending on the age of the child. So looking after a baby who's 6 months old and looking after a 13-year-old teenager, there would be varying degrees of duty of care. And then the next thing is this childminder or nanny, did you hire them directly, or was it where you use an agency that is the one that employs the minder, and then you pay the agency and the agency pays the childminder? So where the employee of the helper or the nanny is someone else, and they're just simply sending this person to you to work, right? In that instance, it's not only the extent of the duty of care, because that's issues of negligence. It is also the issue of vicarious liability, where you put the employer in a position where they are liable for any negligence or damage caused by the negligence of their employee.
I want us to specifically talk about when the caregiver is directly from an agency, right? The instances where some will have an indemnity form for a parent or a guardian to sign, or liability clauses in place that protect the business. My question is, in the event that something has happened to the child who's been cared for, is there a way that you could go around the clause to seek justice for your child, basically?
Yes, there is, because there's a certain level of negligence that you can contract out of. But when it starts coming into areas of serious negligence or gross negligence, then the law actually says you are very limited in being able to contract out of that. And the reason why that is simple. It's because somebody will say, Bonolo, sign on the dotted line and say, no matter what I do to you, I won't be liable. But there's a certain extent where the law has to step in and protect people from themselves. And that's where the serious negligence or gross negligence comes in. To say this person can't be there beating a child who's 9 months old, and they completely injure this child, and a person then contracts out of being liable for such negligence. Because remember, the agent is the one that says, this is a qualified person who can look after your child. We vouch for this person. And now this person comes and does this to your child. So there's an element of negligence. When it passes a certain point, you actually cannot contract out of, no matter what you say.
I want you to clearly define what would constitute an accident and gross negligence, like you said? Perhaps maybe give an example.
So, for example, if you have a child who is crawling, and this is like an extreme example, and you are cooking, right? Let's say you're cooking pap. We know that pap sometimes, when it's still watery, it sometimes jumps all over the place, right? And then this child crawls to the stove. And in looking to see where the child is, you then happen to tilt the pot and it burns the child's hand or something. That could legitimately be an accident, right? Because you didn't intend for that to happen. However, if there are certain measures that you could have put in place to prevent the child from coming so close to the stove, and you didn't do that, that might go into the area of negligence. Basically, the question is, would a reasonable person in your position have taken the actions that you did? Yes. And if a reasonable person is saying, no, I wouldn't have done that, then that's when the negligence aspect comes in.